Hello and welcome everybody to another episode of Pot Strickland. I'm your host, Shwin and Prez, episode 443. I'm joined as always by my co-host, Prez. That is at underscore Presidente on Twitter, but it is just at Presidente on Blue Sky. Prez, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm enjoying the Blue Sky experience. Come find me on Blue Sky if you're a Strickland podcast listener.
Yeah, I still need them to get the algorithm a little bit more good. It's like very hard to find stuff on there half the time, but they'll figure it out. I'm sure of it. They would never do me dirty, but we're not here to talk about Blue Sky. I mean, maybe we are. I don't know. We are here to talk about the Knicks, among many other things. But before we do that, I do have to make a few announcements. First thing, that Strickland has a YouTube channel where you may be watching this podcast. If you are not done so already, please hit like, subscribe to the channel, leave us a comment. That'd be a huge help to us. Strickland also has merch, which you can find on our website at www.strick.land. There's a link that'll take you to the merchandise store, and there's all kinds of cool stuff on there, like t-shirts, sweatshirts, hats, coffee mugs, water bottles, you name it, we've got it. Strickland also has a Patreon, which you can subscribe to. There are a number of different tiers. There's a $6 tier that gets you access to Pod Strickland, this podcast that I host every Friday with Prez. You also get access to our newest podcast, or not that new, but our newest, maybe. I don't know. It's called Takes from Obvious Bozos. That is hosted by Andrew Steele, a.k.a. Doug, along with Zach Blatter. And you get access to the Strickland Discord. The conversation never stops. There are further tiers. There's a $9 tier that gets you access to Strickland Roll, my solo pod, where I rant and rave about the Knicks even more. You also get access to wonderful premium articles by Matthew Murno, one of the best in the business. And you get access to Strictly NFL, which you guessed it, is our podcast about the NFL that is hosted by Konstantin Metrikos and Desmond Novak. There are further tiers. There's a $15 tier, $30 tier, $50 tier, and $100 tier. That's going with a variety of additional benefits, like listening in on pod recordings, merchandise discounts, and even potentially hosting a podcast alongside yours truly one day, whether you choose to subscribe or not. This would be possible without you. And none of this would be possible without BetOnline. BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting. From the earliest odds to in-game live betting, BetOnline provides you with all the action and the ability to watch the games as they happen, with the largest selection of odds on everything from football, NBA, NHL to entertainment and political props. Head to BetOnline today to get in on the action with America's most trusted site for online wagering. BetOnline, the game starts here. Look, I got to congratulate anybody that took the political prop on Matt Gaetz not making it through his nomination process. So shout out to you if you have that prop. You cashed today. Good work.
Sponsored by BetOnline.
Sponsored by BetOnline. All right. We're also not here to talk about Matt Gaetz and the disgusting piece of shit weasel human being he is. We're going to talk about the Knicks, who are beautiful and wonderful and pure and all the good things. The Knicks have now won 5 in a row. Right? Is that right? Am I wrong? That sounds wrong. I think they would have won.
Four.
They would have won fucking 6 in a row if not for the disgusting Kobe White fucking making 3 free throws and the laws of physics denying Jalen Brunson a game winner, which he did get back in blood.
The next game. Foul.
Yeah. But he got it back in blood.
They said in the last 2 minutes report that it was the hand on the back, but that shit was the Afro foul.
Yeah, they didn't call the hand on the back. They definitely called the Afro foul. All right. Well, we already talked about that. We don't need to talk about that again. But yeah, the Knicks have won 4 in a row now. They won back-to-back against Brooklyn, and then they have completely just annihilated the Wizards and a shorthanded Suns team last night. I don't know. Last time we talked, I think that was that right? That was like right after the Chicago game, I'm pretty sure. So I don't know. How are you feeling now about this team versus maybe how you were feeling at that point in time?
I wasn't too low back then, even though the results
back then,
before we were crushing teams and averaging 130 points per game. No, it's funny because this team is so talented that there's a non-insignificant number of plays versus the Suns, for example. Like Josh Hart went 8 for 11, and the 3 shots he missed, one was a 3, and the other 2 were absolute bunny layups. So there's like a world where they could have scored like 150 in that game. Like no bullshit. It was fucking that crazy. If you just
I
make
think
a
they'll do it
couple
at some
gimmies
point.
go in, they
I think
will
they'll do it.
because like
Yeah, they'll do it at some point.
like they were getting fouled like flagrantly, and uh they were missing some layups, and they still, I mean, of course they still made plenty of hard shots, especially Jalen. But anyway, like, you know, we talked about it, I think, the last time we did the Friday pod, and like about where they are in like the timeline of a new really talented team just kind of figuring things out. I know last time we talked about like the Cat Brunson pick and roll and like them kind of just getting used to each other's preferences and patterns in terms of where to get the ball and when to set a screen and when to roll. And you're seeing that develop, and then you're also really seeing like the team wide kind of like secondary options developing. Like, okay, if the Cat pick and roll gets like overloaded or for some reason doesn't work too well, like, and they reverse it, like, here's Josh Hart's pick and roll. Like, that's the next thing they look at. Or Mikal's pick and roll. If they have somebody, you know, if they get the rebound and Josh Hart can race it up, he might. If they get the rebound and OG or Mikal had a chance to leak and then seal, like, they'll do that. Like, you can kind of see them internalizing the playbook on offense at honestly like a pretty impressive speed, like given that they haven't played together before. And that's just cool to see because, you know, both at the individual level and at the team level, once they kind of internalize that foundation, like you've always talked about, right? Like Tibbs is just trying to like build a foundation and then they'll build off of that. Then as individuals and as a team, you can start building in like the counters and the curveballs and stuff. And I'll give an example. So one cool thing I've noticed about Josh Hart, when he drives, one thing that always kind of frustrated me, even though he's always been solid at driving, is like he can't really turn a corner very sharply. His drive paths are kind of curved and sloped. So if he can't get in a straight line and do his Euro step, he has to kind of curve and then stop. And then in the past, his options is pretty much just do like the turn and fade. But now he can do a floater, he can do a pump fake, and then try to shoot a layup or a floater. And more devastatingly, he will use a spin move to like angle back to the hoop a lot, and he does it about like once every other game now. So you're just seeing like all the individual Knicks begin to you know, develop their counters and
knack.
stuff like that. Have
That's
the
fine.
knack, as Clyde would say. Which is cool. On defense, they're still very much a work in progress, both from a schematic perspective and from just a give a shit perspective, right? And I mean, back-to-back games versus like the fake Suns and the Wizards will kind of do that,
Yeah,
especially when you have that kind of firepower. It's just one of those things where like
I didn't know what to really like.
it was just
I didn't
annoying
know what to
as a
make of either of
fan,
these
right?
games. Yeah, I
Right?
didn't know
Like,
what to make of either of these games. So I was just kind of like, okay, so they're just way better than these teams. Like, especially like obviously they're
yeah.
better than the Wizards. We knew that. But like the Suns without Durant and Beal, you were kind of like, all right, so I guess this is just they don't actually need to try here. So
it was crazy. Like like Nurk, they literally were just like they would literally just turn their back on Nurk like 20 feet away. And even Royce O'Neal, who was like, he's not a bum out here. Like, he's a solid rotation player, better than Nurk. And he's just like, they were like, all right, dude, you hit 5. You literally had the best shooting game of like the last 2 years. Fucking good for you. Like, nobody cares. Like, it didn't matter.
yeah,
They're like, oh, Devin Booker's like drawing a bunch of fouls and shooting threes. Cool. We don't respect you. Like, who gives a shit?
yeah, it was odd. I mean, it was like I thought that in the probably like the first quarter, I would say they actually like were pretty solid defensively, not like perfect or anything to your point, but They gave a shit. They gave a shit for the
once they were like, oh, we're like putting a 45 spot on you. That's when they were like, at least today we don't respect you. And then in the third quarter, the Suns came out of halftime and were like, we're at least gonna like put a respectable effort forward and like get our hands dirty a little bit. That caught the Knicks from a defensive perspective. They were like, you could tell the Knicks were like, oh, you're gonna make us fucking score, like why do you have to do this? Like, we don't want to play defense right now, except for I would say Payne and Sims off the bench, because those guys know, like, as bench players, their job is, they're not good enough to just like kind of go on cruise control like that, and they know Tibbs would not like that. Like with the starters, like Tibbs doesn't like that either, but he's like, like he kind of knows the deal that he signed up for here. But with the bench players, it's like Sims has been playing great for his standards. I got a video on him coming out tomorrow, actually.
Just what everybody was looking forward to.
I wasn't gonna do it, and then he kept playing well, and some people in the strict court kept on like kind of sleeping on how well he was playing, in my opinion. So I was like, let me do a video pointing it out. And then what finally put me over the edge was the hilarious defensive field goal percentage stat stuff, which, if listeners, you don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. His at the time I recorded the video, his defensive field goal percentage against around the basket, which is about the only good tracking stat on NBA.com, was 33%, which is A, unsustainable, and B, probably the highest in the NBA. It was a small sample, so like it doesn't really matter as a stat. For comparison, the best rim protectors in the NBA, like Rudy Gobert and Kristaps and Brook before he got cooked, kind of hang out in like the 40s, like mid-low 40s, and then like in the high 40s, low 50s, mid 50s is considered solid. And then I would say the majority of centers are like in the high 50s, low 60s. And there's other factors like, who you have as weak side protectors, and, perimeter defense, not allowing guys to get in. And it doesn't include like deterrence and, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, 33% is crazy. So everybody was like, LOL, like, oh my God, like what a small sample. And I was like, yeah, that's true. But I kind of want to go in and look at all of them. So I did that just to see like what's up. And even since I recorded the video, like it's gone up, but only a little bit. I think I haven't checked after the Phoenix game, but it was still under 40. And he's kind of similar to He Who Shall Not Be Named in the Oklahoma City, in that he's not big enough to deter people or make people second guess. But like lately, if people have tried him at the rim, he has either denied them or contested enough to like make them miss more often than not. And
he's also, when he's fouling, he's not giving up and ones, which is like the most annoying thing that you can do. So
yeah, and Tibbs has allowed another thing that's in the video that I'm forgetting his name. My guy who has the basketball blog, the F5, he was looking at which centers spend the most times defending guards, and Jericho Sims was 10th in the league in terms of percentage of minutes spent on guards. And he's switching a lot. It started to really show with the games versus the Brooklyn Nets, where they would double Cam Thomas and sometimes Schroeder. And what they would do is kind of like an extended double, where it's not just like double quick and then go away, but like Sims would double, and then depending on the communication after, either they would switch or the other person, like say Brunson or Mikal or whoever, would come back, and then Sims would, like after a couple of seconds of doubling, scramble back to his guy. But sometimes they would just decide to switch, and Sims has been holding up pretty well on the switches. So he's been doing well, and I did want to highlight that. And he continued to show effort versus the Wizards and versus the Suns. Campaign's been playing well, which is cool, especially with Deuce out. I just love the fucking bombs that he throws that are like so ballsy, and I don't know. It's one of those things that I've always enjoyed, and we haven't really had that since Quickly left. You know, those just like holy shit from like 30 feet kind of bombs. Like Dante sort of had them.
It's
but
not
they
the
weren't
same
really
though.
off the
Dante doesn't
dribble.
he doesn't pull up, man.
Yeah, they weren't off the dribbles. They were like holy shit in a different way, but like yeah, so I don't know, like these guys are kind of rounding into form a little bit. It's a little bit of a soft spot in the schedule for sure with the back-to-back versus Brooklyn and then these two games, you know, and then the Suns having, you know, 5 games in 7 nights and then no Beal, no Durant, blah blah blah. So it's a good time to work out some of this stuff because with their talent, they should be able to blow a lot of mediocre teams out of the water. It doesn't answer the questions about the challenges posed by harder teams, of course, but it's still important for the regular season to just develop that confidence. And, you know, this time a week ago and 2 weeks ago, like guys like Mikal were still figuring it out. Campaign hadn't figured it out. So they're taking steps forward. And so is Tibbs in terms of like working out the defensive scheme again, like this time last week. I still don't think they've necessarily, even though they've been more aggressive lately, like I don't know that they've settled on what the best scheme for this team, especially the starting lineup, is. Nor have I think they've come close to forget mastering, just even being proficient in all the, like with the more aggressive schemes, like everything that is required of that from like if Cat is and Jalen Brunson are defending a pick and roll and Cat has to play up more aggressive, then the other 3 guys have to rotate a lot more, and they're still working on that shit. Like Hart has had stints where he's just awful at defense, both on the ball and rotating. So has Mikal. So like sometimes that's effort, sometimes that's just not knowing what the fuck is going on. Right, just execution, like Tibbs would say. So, you know, there's still plenty of work to do, but this is this team's path to playoff success. Like it's hard. Like I was watching I was stuck on the ESPN broadcast, so I didn't get to hear Jamal Crawford's Knicks debut as an announcer. And Bob Myers was on the broadcast for ESPN, and I'd never heard him. Usually I don't have sound on. I'll play music or whatever. And for one thing, I thought Myers was really good. Like he was talking about not just like narratives and this and that, but like some X's and O stuff and talking about cap stuff and team building and all that, and not in like a dickhead, oh, I'm so smart, I fucking built the Warriors or whatever. So it was really interesting to that's what I would have expected. That's how I would have been if I was Bob Myers on the broadcast. Like, oh, these poverty teams can't fucking just assemble Hall of Famers. Pff, couldn't be me. But one of the things he was talking about was like, you know, when you're building these teams that are going for a shot, like taking a real shot at contention, especially lately, he was like, our situation in Golden State was the exception. That most of these teams, like, it takes a bit to gel and figure it out. Like, and you know, he was talking about Dallas, he was talking about the Timberwolves, you know, even Boston. Like these teams like had to go through tweaks and iterations for them to really maximize their potential. And, you know, not saying they all worked out, but like, he's like, you have to give this Knicks team a little bit of time, particularly on the defensive end, to kind of make all the pieces fit. And I think he was right about that. So I don't know. It's interesting. I haven't looked at the schedule. I don't know who we got next, but I
play Utah.
I feel like we gotta. It's Denver still Monday. Like
Dallas.
Okay, so Denver's probably the next good one, and then Dallas. Those will be good tests. Those will be interesting. I feel like both those teams been hooping. Well, Luka just got hurt today, right?
Yeah, he's out for a week. He won't be playing in this game.
Tough to see it.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think there's still a lot of stuff for them to figure out. More defensively for sure, but even offensively, there are times where they kind of they are not yet necessarily yet on the same page still. But defensively, they've obviously got a long way to go. The Mikal Bridges thing to me, I just it's still really weird to me. I don't fully understand.
Which Mikal Bridges thing?
I mean, defensively, just all of it. Like, I don't really understand his aversion to like all physicality now. I mean, I've never.
I feel like he's done a little bit better the last couple games.
Yeah, he was better. He was better in the Brooklyn games. He was better against Washington. Not that says anything because Washington is fucking awful. And I thought he was legitimately. We talked about it last time we were on. I thought he was like the one guy who actually played well out of the starting group defensively against Chicago. But the game against Phoenix was just, I don't know. I thought he was just bad throughout. And you can see it very visibly when he's just like, I'm not trying to go through a screen. I'm not trying to be physical. I'm not trying to fight over this and make it hard. I'm just going to go around and then I'll try and do some rear view contest thing that usually isn't that very good.
Like a whack rear view contest.
Yeah, he'll do that. And that shit is just whatever. I mean, maybe I'm harping on it too much because it just really bothered me when I was watching yesterday. But like, to be fair, like you mentioned, they didn't need to be good on defense yesterday, so maybe that was some of it. But like offensively, this guy just won't draw fouls. Like he just is not interested in drawing fouls. He's not interested in trying to get to the rim. He's not interested in going through contact at the rim. And he is look, I'm all for guys having a mid-range game, and he's got a really good mid-range game. He's shooting a great percentage from mid-range. I have no problem with him taking that shot. I have a problem when that's his preferred shot. That's the shot that he's literally looking for right now all the time. And that is a problem. I'm sorry. That's not acceptable to me. Like, that's pretty shitty, actually. You need to be, if you pay the price the Knicks paid to get him, right? They gave 4 unprotected first round picks. They gave up a top 4 protected pick for Milwaukee, which may be good, maybe not. Who knows? They're kind of getting their shit together. They're weird. I don't want to think about it right now. You give up both those picks, and you give a pick swap in 2028, which hopefully won't matter, but whatever. You gave that up. Like, I'm sorry, but I need way more than, like, I don't need him to score 25 a game. I don't need him to be the best defender in the league. I need him to be a good defender consistently. I need him to be able to fight through screens consistently. And I need him to take shots that are like, I don't know how this happened, but right now, Mikal Bridges, by far and away, has the worst shot chart on the team. Like, pretty easily. Pretty fucking easily, he has the worst shot chart on the team. And I mean that in the sense of he is leaning so heavily on mid-range. And some of this gets skewed because he's taking some of those like shorter mid-range shots that sometimes count as like 3 to 10 feet. But if you just look at his, like, I mean, this is wild to me. If you just look at percentage of, shots from different areas in the field, the only actual player taking more shots from 10 to 16 feet on the team. Oh, wait, no, there's nobody. It's him. He's taking 20.2% of his shots from 10 to 16 feet. Jalen Brunson is next at 16.7. I don't have a problem with that. You want to know why? Because Jalen Brunson is creating fucking like 15 trillion times more offense than Mikal Bridges. So if he has to lean on some relatively inefficient shots at times, that's fine. I accept that. I'm okay with that. And that's cool. There's no reason for Mikal Bridges to be shooting 20.2% of his shots from 10 to 16 feet. I'm sorry. There's no reason for that. There's no reason for him to be only taking 12.2% of his shots at the fucking rim. Like, this is insane. I'm sorry. That it makes no sense. Meanwhile, Josh Hart can't stop getting to the rim. Okay. Josh Hart can't stop getting to the rim. OG Anunoby can't stop getting to the rim. But this fucking guy, God forbid, this is by far and away. All right, I'm going to read this out. I'm just going to read this out by year. By year, okay? This is by year shots from 0 to 3 feet. So literally at the rim. All right, I'm just going to read off the percentage of his total field goals at the rim. So starting from his rookie season, 27.7%, 38.6%, 27.8%, 22.7%, 17.6%, 16.3%, or sorry, 17%, 16.5%, and then 12.2%. That's this year. What the fuck are we doing here? Like, get to the fucking rim, man.